The main objective of this workshop is the development of soft solutions to bring some immediate relief to road users in the context of the traffic congestion presently being experienced on the Castries-Gros Islet Highway. As all of us know, road safety is a global epidemic and certainly one that affects small island developing states heavily. Over 60,000 deaths and 600,000 injuries occur annually in the Caribbean region, many of whom are vulnerable road users, such as pedestrians, cyclists, and motorcyclists. This causes adverse social consequences and generates large economic losses. Of equal importance is the congestion we experience on our major highways, which also lead to low productivity and large economic losses. Of particular interest is the Castries-Gros Islet Highway and the need to urgently reduce congestion and travel times. Recognizing this challenge, the Ministry of Infrastructure, Ports, Energy, and Labor embedded congestion relief on the Castries-Gros Islet Highway as a key priority in its transport strategy for the fiscal year 2017-2018. Further to a policy directive, the Department of Infrastructure, Ports and Energy has moved to prepare an important strategy for the Castries-Gros Islet Highway involving soft measures. To take this initiative forward, the Department of Infrastructure, Ports and Energy, recognizing the wealth of local knowledge and expertise which exists in both the private and public sector, seek to engage key stakeholders in formulating, through active dialogue, a plan to bring about immediate relief to road users. These stakeholders are drawn from such sectors as construction and engineering, transport and hospitality, sales and management, public sector, safety and law enforcement, and civil society. Today is designed to truly be a workshop where we invite all parties to work together to formulate a soft solution strategy in a concrete and practical way. Our primary objective for the day is to identify traffic hotspots which can be targeted immediately with soft solutions to reduce congestion. These soft solutions are expected to be low cost, minimally disruptive, and easy to implement. We are delighted to welcome you, the practitioners and decision makers who have the power to make the Castries-Gros Islet Highway corridor safer and less congested, thus reducing accidents and increasing productivity. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you all a highly successful workshop.
We, at this juncture this morning, discussing and consulting on one of the busiest roads in St. Lucia. It's the most talked about, and it seems to be one of the most challenging situations when it comes to roads and traffic. We're all aware of the improvements in their carriage way some years ago, and more recently, we presented options to the Cabinet of Ministers for their consideration. Cabinet, at the more recent decision, has directed the Department of Infrastructure to undertake an integrated traffic study encompassing the greater Castries Central District and the Castries-Gros Islet Highway corridor, and to sort of adopt a holistic approach, and again, and as Chief mentioned, to arrive and to adopt a smart solutions to the issues that we have currently. They also approved the full rehabilitation of the bypass roads and to make them viable alternatives for traffic. So if you can get the traffic onto reasonably good and acceptable driving surfaces, then we probably will be able to get the traffic off the highway. Although it's a terminology that when we use it in St. Lucia, we believe it represents speed. But I think we should be able as a country to accept the fact that it's a highway, but the highway still has speed limits. And also the matter with the shock bridge designed and so on should and will be reviewed. We've brought you here this morning as stakeholders, property owners, we have residents, we have businesses, we have transport service providers, we have the Member of Parliament, and various groups to discuss this matter. The purpose of this consultation, as I understand it, is to inform you of our proposal and the possible impacts of how it will affect your business, your operations. Recently, I participated in one of our budget discussions where we were discussing the construction sector. And the contractor was saying, but how will construction sector contribute to GDP growth when if I am moving material from Gros Islet right across the length of the highway, I am unable to move it at the speed that I would like to, and there's and it's highly congested. How will that, how you will get growth when I am unable to carry out or conduct my business? So this was one of the concerns. And immediately the gentleman started providing recommendations and suggestions on how we can alleviate the traffic situation. So it's a really talked about issue. We're here to seek feedback on the proposals. We're here to ask that we discuss the issue of the soft measures, and in order for us now as a ministry to be able to take the decision and to deal with the options that have been provided to us by Cabinet. It will also give us an opportunity for us to have in our database, you as our stakeholders, that at any future interventions, we know who we should speak to, who we should consult with, and that you will all feel part of the process going forward. Because in our visioning, we need to ensure that our stakeholders are quite involved in whatever we do at this point. So I implore you this morning to be candid with us, be open, let us dialogue, let us discuss, because we do not have all of the answers on this side. Hence the reason we need to know how you're affected, how it's going to impact you, what opportunities it may be able to provide to you. And the overall objective of the government is to double the GDP. And in order to do that, we need to ensure that all organs of the country are working at high speed, and that the engine is well oiled, and that we can, as a country, feel proud at the end of it. So this morning, I wish to extend further a warm welcome to you and to let you know that whatever recommendations and suggestions that you have here will not go on a shelf, but we'll certainly take it, and you will see it reflected in whatever documentation and whatever intervention that we will be undertaking on this stretch of road. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning.
Today's exercise is a very significant and important exercise that I'm very much encouraged by the representation that I see here and the energy that seemed to radiate from within the ministry, the technical department headed by the chief engineer, Mr. Albert Jean-Baptiste. The issue of the road network in St. Lucia has been one for decades, attracted the attention of not just politicians, but citizens in St. Lucia, but even more so motorists, those persons who use the roads on a day-to-day basis to conduct their business. And as the Permanent Secretary indicated, in many cases, those persons who use the roads are the persons who contribute to the development, the overall development of our country, and who are keen on ensuring that the activities are done in a very efficient manner, a manner in which that can bring about production, enhance production, and bring about the productivity levels that we are looking at. We have, for decades, considered whether there's a need to enhance the Castries to Vieux Highway to a 4-lane highway, and that was abandoned. And then we spoke of the Castries-Gros Islet Highway as a 4-lane highway, which was commenced sometime in 2006, thereabout 2005-6, into a four-lane highway, north and south. What we have recognized in the ministry is as we continue to pay attention to those segments of road infrastructure and the need to improve the road infrastructure, we recognize that some of the real problems we're not taking care of at this time. In other words, there are issues, there are concerns, there are problems and remedies that we can effect, which can help for the time being alleviate some of the congestion that we experience and some of the numerous problems that occur on the road network to help improve the rideability, to improve the comfort, and to create the traction necessary for motorists and pedestrians along the highway. So whereas in 2006, 2007, the four-lane highway, as of taking off as of the VG roundabout, seemed to be okay, we didn't seem to address the issue of the distribution of that traffic through Castries and south of Castries. So whereas heading south, you get to the VG roundabout in a two-lane, you ended up getting into Castries into a one-lane. So basically what you're creating there, what we have created is a bottleneck. Hence the reason the decision based on the options presented by the technical unit within the ministry, a decision was taken to do an integrated traffic study plan taking into consideration the entire city of Castries, so that when you get to the VG roundabout, you should have at least 2, 3, or 4 options as to where you intend to go, whether it is in the heart of town, whether it is east part of the city, or whether you want to go beyond the city and to avoid major traffic in the city of Castries. That is a major issue. Many times as you get to the VG roundabout, you can look at that John Compton Highway running alongside the VG Airport or the George F. L. Childs Airport, and you can see the backup all the way up to the roundabout. And the decision has to be, should I attempt going down the John Compton Highway, or should I go through the Vidbutel Road, which is not a very attractive road? Many times, persons rather take the chance and plod along the John Compton Highway, just leaving the Vidbutel Road alone, whereas that can be a more efficient road if only we undertake some soft measures and improve that road, making the surface a lot more rideable and attractive, and to allow people to use that road. On the other hand, northbound, as we move northbound, we start with 4 lanes or 2 lanes rather, and we end up with 1 lane, then back to 2, and then to 1 lane. It means that what we are doing, we are pumping in more traffic into a 1 lane, fooling ourselves that we have built 2 lanes to enhance the traffic, but it ends up in 1 lane, again creating congestion. Then the other issues are with the number of exits or junctions along the Castries-Gros Islet Highway. Are we creating a congestion, or are we creating congestion as a consequence of allowing a right turn off the main road? So all of these issues we need to take into consideration as to whether at this time, 1, we need to improve the length of some of the slipways. So in some instances, you take the Corinth Junction, for example, and invariably, if my memory serves me right, you can only accommodate 2, probably 3 cars in that holding spot in the middle, which I call a slipway. Anything beyond 2 or 3 cars holds back all of the traffic until those cars move and then the rest of the traffic to flow. Point is, can we not improve that, or should we allow the right turn at the Corinth Junction and then create a roundabout somewhere to allow vehicles to keep flowing north, take the roundabout, distribute, and get into your traffic without causing the delays that are caused along that highway? These are some of my own personal observations. But we believe by this exercise today, bringing you here, that we can get some even greater recommendations from the ordinary man on the street, from business people, from civil society, from public officers, and from others who on a day-to-day basis experience what takes place on the highway. On the other hand, if we're able to enhance the operations and the movement of traffic along the Castries-Gros Islet Highway, and we can provide other attractive routes, for example, Vieux-Sequi, Grand Riviere, Corinth, etc., and make it more attractive, make the surface a lot more rideable, to allow people to use those alternative routes, I believe we can ease up the pressure on the Castries-Gros Islet Highway and cause people to use those routes moving forward. However, we cannot lose sight of the fact that a four-lane highway along the Castries-Gros Islet Highway is an inevitable situation. We must do it at some stage. But in the meantime, while we are planning and preparing to expend the amount of money that we anticipate to spend there, we can take some soft measures and create a more efficient road network in the north of the island, taking into consideration the Castries-Gros Islet Highway and all of the bypass roads that can help speed up and make the road network more efficient. I am hoping that out of today's exercise, we'll get the full participation of all stakeholders. We will have a balanced view, that there will be critique of the proposals being offered by the ministry, and that we can be better informed by persons who generally have a greater experience than some of us experts who are here, who know or think we know exactly what you need. I think you know what you need, and we must be able to facilitate you and to meet you halfway, if not all the way, in meeting your own needs as citizens of this country. I want to thank you and to wish you a very successful consultation.
As parliamentary representative, I thought I should avail myself of the opportunity. I mean, it is not lost on me, like it is on anyone else, that we have a major problem on the Castries-Gros Islet Highway. Of course, not only my constituents are affected by this problem, but the wider population of St. Lucia. As we know, much of St. Lucia's businesses are located in the Rodney Bay area anyway, and many people commute to that area for work. It is of interest to me that we can find some solutions in terms of alleviating that problem. I am also keenly interested in the bypass roads and what will be done as a contribution to alleviating the problems, not only because it's a way of me getting some of my roads fixed, but I believe that the gathering that I see here today, I'm very confident that you will come up with some of the ideas. I noted that the minister and the chief engineer underlined inexpensive ideas to at least bring about some solutions to the problem that we face until we are in a position to execute and implement the construction of the four-lane highway to Gros Islet. Of course, I have some ideas of my own. I must say some rather controversial ones too, because for me as a parliamentary representative, one of the biggest headaches that I have is road maintenance in my constituency. We are the constituency with by far the most roads. Our road network is very extensive, given the fact that we have quite a number of housing developments in the area with subpar roads existing there. And I've been toying with the idea of how to keep those roads properly maintained, and of course how we can have some of our secondary roads properly maintained. If we do so, I think that too will contribute in a way to alleviating the problem on the main road. I have looked at options, but options that may not require much expense but have to do with some behavioral, attitudinal changes. For example, carpooling. I do not know if we can ever get around to convincing people that everyone in a household shouldn't be leaving home with a car to work on a morning, especially if you all work in Castries. that may be one of the possibilities if we can encourage that. I must say that one is more for selfish purposes in terms of what it can do for the constituency of Gros Islet. We have looked at the possibility of tolls, you know. That will, in a way, discourage people who do not have to be on the road from being on the road because there's a cost to it. And secondly, I'm looking at it as generating a revenue, can be a revenue stream for the repairs of the road in our area. I'm also toying with the idea of parking meters. But of course, I made the mistake of expressing that view at a constituency gathering once, and I mean, it was not met with much warmth, I must say. In terms of the residents asking of me where would they park their vehicles, and would they have to pay parking for parking in front of the houses. But I mean, these are just solutions, possible solutions that can be thrown out there in terms of what can be done. Some of it obviously have not been given adequate thought, but in the discussion we can look at means and ways of coming up with possible solutions. I mean, we now have a situation in the Castries-Gros Islet area where, I mean, before we knew there was a problem at between 7, 8, 9 in the morning, and again at 4, 5 in the evening. But now it seems to be all day long, all night long. I mean, I commute on a Sunday night and there's traffic on the Castries-Gros Islet Highway. So there is certainly an urgent need to address that situation. And I'm very confident that this gathering here today will, I won't say start the process, but push the process along in terms of providing some suggestions, possible solutions to the Ministry of Infrastructure, so that in the very near future we can see at least some resolution to that situation that is certainly an aggravation to most of us, and I hope that we do so before road rage becomes an issue in St. Lucia. Thank you.